What is going on, people? What is going on? Make sure we live, which I think we are. All right. It might help if I had a microphone. Okay. So like the title says, for those of you that jump in, um, I wanted to talk about some voter rights for convicted felons, um, because as we all know, if you got a felony, then you are not allowed um, you are not allowed to vote, which is unfortunate because I mean we're living out across the country, roughly about 6.1 million people, and most of the states that felons are not able to vote or to do anything in are swing states or key battleground states, and yeah, it's I don't know, it's important, I think, to like the process to once you serve your time, then that should be it. You served your time. If a private company don't want to hire you, it's understandable. That's fine. If if you got um, a government entity, even after you serve your time, uh, you should be allowed to get whatever job you want. You should be able to be put back into normal society, um, like a normal person, because you served the time. You did what you're supposed to do. They told you to serve, 18 months or 18 years. You do your time. You should be able to come out and be a normal citizen again. But we all know that that's not the case. Um, let me see. Angel said, if you pay taxes, you should have the right to vote. Right. The entire That's a very good point, Angel. This entire country was founded off the idea of like what led up to the Revolutionary War was Americans, or before they were called Americans, like the colonists, were upset because they were getting taxed by the British for products, but they wasn't able to get there was it was a one way street. Like they wasn't able to get anything from Britain, and they still had to pay taxes on tea and stuff. So that was taxation without representation. The part this country was founded on no taxation without representation. So you come out, you're a felon, you do your bid, you come out, you start a business or you work in a normal job. I don't care if it's McDonald's or something. You paying taxes, yet you can't vote. It's absurd. Um, it's just an absurd thing. Like so many revisions need to be made to uh, um, the Constitution, whether it's the 13th Amendment that, yeah, it abolished slavery, but it also said that it abolished slavery unless you are in jail, which means there are incentives to put people in jail because it's free labor. It's slavery, it's legal slavery. That's what jails are. Um, so many revisions need to be made to the Constitution. We can cover that on another show. Uh, we can cover that on another show. um, But yeah, so not many people, I'm assuming, knew because I've lived in Cleveland, lived in Ohio pretty much my entire life, and all I've heard was, you know, um, I got a felony, or so and so got a felony, so he's unable to do this, and this. Now, included in that this, and this was almost always voting. Like voting was always a thing that people couldn't do with felonies, or at least that's what they thought. So in Ohio, actually, um, you can vote if you have a felony, unless you did something that was like election fraud. Like unless you did something with the election, you can definitely vote in Ohio with a felony. So I don't care if your felony was murder. I don't care if it was drug trafficking, you know, kidnapping, all the worst stuff you can think of. But if it didn't have anything to do with like election fraud, um, then you can vote. So don't let nobody say that you can't vote. You want to vote, you're interested in politics. All you got to do is go re-register, the same way we've been preaching over here for the past, 6 months or however long ago we started the show. Um, so yeah, so if you have a felony or if you know somebody with a felony in Ohio specifically, as long as their felony has nothing to do with the election, they can go register and they can vote in November. Um, it's a bunch of other states that's similar. There's two states that stand out to me when doing research about people, felons voting, and like the rights they have when they get out of jail. Vermont and Maine are the only two states uh, where you can vote even if you're in jail or prison, like any of it. So this coming November, uh, you know, James Monroe, like whoever that guy is, inmate number 557 in Maine, maximum security prison, can vote. Like November 3rd, he'll be able to vote for whoever he wants to be the president. It's crazy that only two states out of two out of 50 states are letting prisoners vote. Like it's crazy to me. Like they can vote anytime, like in jail, out of jail, on probation, on parole. Like it doesn't matter. But it's only two states, and I don't know. I think that's a big missed opportunity. Um, like why wouldn't like what is the without being too conspiracy theorist, because I'm not big on that, but I am big on um, I don't know, man. Conspiracy with the government, I suppose. But like, why wouldn't you want your citizens to vote? Like, criminal or not, like, why wouldn't you want your citizens to vote? I just don't understand it. I don't know why. I don't know why you wouldn't want your people to vote, unless it is a conspiracy. And I mean, we just talked about the 13th Amendment. Well, I talked about the 13th Amendment in regards to um, slavery being abolished, except for in prisons. Um, so if you look at that and you look at um, the original saying of you know slaves at the time, black people were the majority, or 3/5 of a man. Um, that was given to southern states so that they could have numbers of representatives to represent them when the Constitution was being written. Um, I'm sorry, not when the Constitution was being written, but just after like the after the Civil War, so that they would have some equal representation. So they say each slave would count as 3/5 of one man. So which means you would need two slaves at least to get an extra vote, like an extra um, person to represent you in Congress, kind of like how we got the House of Representatives now. Um, it was the same system, but they took slaves as population, but because they still didn't look at them as humans, 3/5 of a man. Um, so that would lead me to believe that when you look at how the like prison industrial complex and how it is a legal form of slavery, they wouldn't want slaves voting the same way they wouldn't want um, people that come out of jail to vote because they look at them as slaves. Am I reaching with that? Like, do you feel like I'm reaching? You feel like I'm going too far? I don't know. Maybe I am. Maybe I am reaching. I just don't know why you want. Why else when you want your citizens to win, or I'm sorry to vote for their representation. Even in jail, why would you want your people to say this is who I want to represent me? Like, what does voting have to do with being a criminal in any form, unless, like I said in Ohio, you commit like some kind of a voter fraud or election schemes or something like that. Otherwise, like why wouldn't you want your people to do it? It just don't make sense to me. Um, I don't know. Florida is the biggest um, concentration of felons that are unable to vote, like period, under no circumstances. They actually passed a law in 2018, um, like an amendment to their like the Florida Constitution or whatever, saying that. So this is what the people of Florida voted in 2018 for uh, the right to vote to be restored to all felons who were no longer in jail. Um, Ron DeSantis, who is currently their um, governor, he wouldn't sign it at first, and then he finally signed it a year later in 2019. He said that, well, first he said, I'm not signing it until the Florida legislature passed how we're going to implement this thing, which you don't have to. You can just say felons. You could just say immediately felons are allowed to vote because that's what the people voted for. So, like, that's the law. I'm going to sign it, and that's the law. Um, for those of you who don't know, Ron DeSantis is a Republican. He's the guy that's all on the news right now, talking about how Florida won't ever be New York, and the coronavirus wave never came, and now they're putting up record numbers every single day. That's Ron DeSantis for you guys that don't know. Um, so he ended up, like I said, he ended up signing it a year later, under the condition as of now that the felons must serve all of their time, all of their probation or parole, and they have to pay all of their fines in order to be able to then, uh, fucking ridiculous, in order to then apply to be uh, able to register to vote, in which you apply and then you got to go to, I want to say Tallahassee is their state capital, and where you got to sit in front of the governor and some of his cabinet members, and you got 10 minutes to plead your case of why you should be able to vote after being a felon, and then it's up to these guys who there's no merit, like there's no guidelines. They just say, I believe you or I don't believe you. You can vote or you can't vote. Like that's just it. Like there's no regulations to it at all. Like I don't understand it one bit. Like how is that fair to anybody, male or female, black or white? Like it doesn't make sense to me. Um, it just doesn't make sense. Andrew said possibly not to have any criminals to have an effect on leadership or exter. officials, executive officials, maybe, I don't know. She said, still, everyone with a pause should be able to vote. Like that's the whole point of this country. Like that's the whole point of um, that's what this country is built on. Is fair representation. And when you do a crime and you do your time or you do your penalty, you pay what you're supposed to do. Elected officials, sorry. Um, you pay, you pay your fine. You do what you're supposed to do under their guidelines. Like this is what you said I had to do, and I did it. So let me be a citizen again. And like they don't care if you're 22 years removed from the crime that you committed or from the time you got out of jail. You could be running halfway houses now. Like, they don't care. Like you still are considered a felon, and they won't let you vote. In most states, in some states, sorry, sometimes it's as simple as you do you do your uh, you go to jail, you do your time, you come out, you do your probation, your parole, whatever your situation is. You pay your fines, and then you got like 2 years or 3 years after that, then you'll be able to vote again. Now that's better, but that still doesn't make sense. Like I still don't understand why you would have to go through all of that stuff just to be able to vote. We're not talking about we're not talking about to be able to um, I don't know. Like we're talking about just the basic human liberties that this country was founded on, which is voting. We're not talking about nothing crazy, just voting, right? And they won't let you do it. Oh, by the way, before anybody say that I'm making a race thing, a black or a white thing, um, in Florida specifically, like I said, Florida got the highest concentration of felons that can vote because of their state rules. So of the 6.1 million across the country, um, 1.5 million is in Florida. It's the highest concentration, and only 1/3 of those people are black. So it's not a black thing. You know what I'm saying? It's not like it's not a black thing. Like it's a everybody. It's a human uh, United States liberty thing. Like why can't you vote? Like I don't understand. 16 states, including Washington D.C., felons lose the right to vote while they're in jail, but as soon as they're released, they're able to vote again. Except for DC. DC actually just passed their council because DC is not a state, but they do got representation. So they've passed that um, while you're in prison, you can vote now. And actually, that will take effect this upcoming November. So if you're in jail in DC, you'll be able to vote this upcoming November, which is great. Um, so shout out to DC for that. 21 states, you can't vote while you're in jail or parole, and not until your fees are paid. But once you do all that stuff, then I guess you're, you're immediately able to vote. Which, like I said, still a lot, and that's fine because that's if they say you got to do your time. That don't just mean jail. You got to do your probationary time, pay your fees because that's all part of your punishment. Then you can vote. Cool. I don't love it, but fine. You got 11 states where felons lose the right to vote altogether for certain crimes. So that would be like Ohio, where you can vote for anything. You can vote for whatever your crime is, except for anything to do with the election. Um, and I think that's great. So I'm gonna look into moving to Maine or Vermont just in case anything weird happens. They seem to be very accepting up there, and uh, it's crazy down here. So, what do you guys think? What do you think about the Florida system? The Florida system of not only got to do all that stuff in regards to doing, going to jail, doing your probationary period, paying your fines, and then having to go in front of a board where it's the governor and three of his or her um, cabinet members, and then 10 minutes to plead your case of why you should be allowed to vote. I've seen some business owners in that court, like some recordings, and people get denied like all the time. You know what I'm saying? Business owners, like people that haven't committed crime in 15 years, people that run, like I said, run halfway houses or run rehabilitation programs, and they all get denied. Like I feel like it's absurd, and I do wonder what you guys think about it. First off, oh, and this is the kicker about the Florida um, uh, uh, council group, with the governor is they only meet 4 times a year, right? So just imagine how many people got felonies. I just said, I just said, 1.5 million people, and they only meet 4 times a year. You know how many requests get put in, and then it get moved to the next session. That might get bumped to the next session. That might get bumped to the next session because they're only meeting 4 times a year. It's absurd. Like the more I dug into it, the more ridiculous it honestly became. Like I just don't understand it at all. Um, Even more than that, when the people actually vote for something, when the people actually vote to be allowed, the people that can vote voted in the favor of felons to be able to vote, and then it wasn't signed immediately into law by their governor, by the person that's representing them to the rest of the country. Right? It's ridiculous, man. That's why everybody hate Florida. Like people go to Florida to to vacation, but people don't respect Florida, man. It's crazy. Florida's it's crazy, man. It's its own place, I guess. I don't know. But that's it for me, man. That's all I got. Appreciate y'all for joining me for sure. Um, one thing I did want to say is we always talk about what to do, like what can we do to help, um, this election cycle, whether it's getting people registered, um, reminding people to vote, all of that stuff. This year, especially with the coronavirus, um, there are going to be tons and tons of um, older people that usually will work to polls that are not going to because um, they're nervous about getting the coronavirus or I don't know, whatever the situation is. So I'm thinking uh, if you're interested in doing something like to actually help, like to do something to put some action behind it, volunteer to work the polls. I'm sorry. In Ohio, you don't have to volunteer because they'll actually pay you, um, but you can do it. And you can do it if you're 16. Uh, in Ohio, I want to say 16, maybe 17. I think it's 16. All the way up. It's one day. It's November 3rd this year. Um, and you get paid to do it. And then you don't have to worry about older people getting infected, or if older people want to stay home and vote by mail. All that stuff is options, but when you don't get enough people to work the polls and they have to shut them down, which means people are going to say, well, I don't want to go downtown just to vote, you know what I'm saying? So you just give people more of an excuse to not go vote. Um, so if you can in your area, if you want to do something and you feel like it's something you can do to help, definitely go and apply. Um, Definitely go and apply for your to help with your polls. And like I said, you get paid for it. They do pay well. They take a minute, but you get paid pretty well. Um, Angel said, "How do you apply? Whatever your local, depending on what city and state you're in, or county, sorry, and state you're in, just Google whatever your county is, Board of Elections. So if you're in Cleveland area, Cuyahoga County Board of Elections. If you're in Geauga County Board of Elections, Tuscarawas Board of Elections, all that stuff. So um, that's how you apply. And you go in there, and it takes a couple minutes. Not even a couple minutes. You sign up. They send you an email. They send you a survey asking, are you available? to work, or do you want to be listed as an alternate? And all it's like a 5 question survey. Then they'll get all your information, and I mean we're reaching that 100 day the 100 day mark um, for the election. So if you're serious about trying to do something, actually trying to not just talk about it, but do something, then you are more than welcome to go and uh, apply and work your polls, man. Save some old people life. Byron said, "Oh, mine, yeah, man. I rep GVS states. I support it like a cast when the bone breaks." So it's a Cleveland reference for you guys that don't know. But I'm out of here, man. Thanks for joining me. Appreciate y'all's support as always. Be sure to support our other shows on the platform. I said what I said in conversation. I'm sorry, and during the course of Ebony J. Our main show will be back Sunday, so definitely look out for that. Byron said Trump 2020 because that's his man all the way. Unless Kanye run, then he's switching his vote. This is what he said in the comments. It's really what he said. I will put it on the screen, but I'm about to get out of here, so I can't. But he said it. He's a Kanye fan. So thank you as always. Remember to own your own. Salute to the city. And I'm looking forward to seeing y'all Sunday. I'm out.